Palestinian Cinema in the Days of Revolution. Just came out a few months ago from University of Texas Press. It's a book about Palestinian cinema of the 1970s, which is basically covering the period of what's commonly known as the Palestinian Revolution from about 1968 until 1982. This was the period when the Palestinians formed a resistance movement with the idea that they would liberate the homeland. The Palestinian refugees would be able to return to their homes themselves rather than waiting for other Arab countries to do that work for them. They formed the organizations and institutions on the ground, first in Amman and then in Beirut, were really sort of like the institutions of a nation. Among those institutions was the Palestinian Cinema Institution, which created films by Palestinians and others who were interested in the Palestinian cause and that served the Palestinian cause. There was really quite a variety of films. So there were a lot of documentaries that were specifically about events that were occurring at the time, often, quite violent events, bombings throughout the 70s, the Black September in Jordan, bombings in Lebanon and Syria throughout the 70s by Israel against Palestinians, and then, of course, the Lebanese Civil War. But there were also other films that addressed cultural phenomenon, social phenomenon, and at the very end of this period you had the very first feature-length fiction film that was made, which was an adaptation of the novel Return to Haifa by Ghassan Kanafani that was completed in 1982, just as this period comes to an end.
يبكيان لأجل من تشردوا لأجل أطفال بلا منازل.
I'm a Palestinian American. My father is Palestinian. I actually began my career as a professor focusing on Arabic literature, and so my first book is on Palestinian oral poetry. But I was teaching classes, Arabic literature and translation, things like that. The issue of translation was always a frustration to me in the classroom. It can be difficult to find works that are well translated from Arabic into English. And so I started to work with more visual materials and films in particular as a means of bypassing some of these translation issues. And then from that began to write about cinema, and here I am.